There is a magnificent sunrise going on right now, and I have been standing in the car park for like 20 minutes watching it because it looks so unreal. How can it not be a good day if it starts off like this? Today is Monday, week 16 of 36 of MD2. Heading into uni now for my placement on emergency. I'm on emergency for another 2 weeks. I'm 2 weeks away from the end of semester right now, which means I have a gazillion assessments that I have to do in that time. We've got our OSCE exams, which is the objective structured clinical exam, basically where we either get a simulated patient or a real patient, and an examiner watches our interaction with them. We will be assessed on one random history and one random exam. We have no idea what will come up. Secondly, we've got our baby long case exam coming up. We have all the time in the world to interview the patient, but then we have to present it back in 15 minutes. And what we're working up to is doing the whole write-up and presentation within an hour. In emergency this morning, I'm going to accompany a friend of mine while she finds her long case patient because she's got to present to our class this week. I had a really fun day yesterday. My boyfriend James and I decided we wanted to look for a new pet. So we went to all these exotic pet stores. Now we're trying to decide whether we want a pet turtle or a pet budgie or a pet snake. My personal favorite is the snake, but James doesn't want one, but I think I can convince him. I'm choosing not to be nervous about my assessments. They're going to happen and I feel fine about it. I'm going to try to stay away from the common room again because I think that in times of stress and exams, I find I'm better if I'm just reclusive, because then I don't potentially get sucked into any anxiety hive minds. I don't think we have anything to worry about when it comes to assessment because we've all been coming in every day. We've all been working really hard. So I don't see why we're not going to do really well. And they're not trying to trick us or torment us with these exams. They're just trying to give us some feedback to make sure we're on the right path, which we are, so it's going to be great. And on the other side of these assessments are the holidays, so there's quite a lot to be excited about. I'm having a late start today. I was at the library till pretty late last night. And so I don't have any classes today, which is a luxury. So I'm going to go in about 3 p.m. and stay there for as long as I can. At the moment, I'm just reading a book called Dear Child, which is a thriller that was recommended to me by a few people, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to get out of bed soon and probably edit my video from last week. Just noticed that I have writing on my arm still from last night when I was trying to learn the dermatomal distribution of the upper limb, because I always forgot what nerves had sensory input from which area. T1 is the inside of my arm, C5 over here, and I had writing all down my arm, and it really helps me to learn that way. I think that once I see it written out like that, like on a body, then it's much easier for me to remember. It's now 3:50. I'm just finishing up last week's vlog now. So I am working on my thumbnail for it as it finishes exporting. And then after that, I'm going to head into the library. Okay, so I've now uploaded my video, added a title and a description, made a thumbnail, which I'm not completely stoked with. And this is the curse of having been on YouTube now for over a year. I'm getting lazy with the important aspects like title and thumbnail. When I first started, they were like the forefront of my mind all the time, as they should be, because they're the most important part. But as I grow lazy, they get pushed back into the recesses of my mind. Also had to make a Instagram story post to promote my new video. And yeah, so now I'm finally done with that. Excited to upload it. And then now I'm going to get into some studying. Okay, so I have fucked myself and now I've realized that it's 5 o'clock. So I'm going to be heading into the peak hour traffic if I go to the library now. And I'm just not down to do that. So change of plans, I'm going to study from home instead. I have spent the entire day in my dressing gown. I have a very full day today. I'm heading in for an airway management class, and then I have another asthma lab, then I have ethical practice, and then I have placement. So very full day today. It's going to be over in a blink. I learned some new information about our OSCEs the other day. I thought that how they were going to be organised was that there was going to be a prompt that said, do the respiratory exam on this patient, and then I do the resp exam on the patient. But apparently it's not like that. You have to use your own judgment. So it'll be more like a patient comes in with shortness of breath. What exam are you going to do? And then you have to do the resp exam. Now that I say that out loud, it won't be too bad to decide what exam to do on the patients. But I'm still learning new things. Like yesterday, we were learning about ear, nose and throat. And in their ear, nose and throat lectures, they were saying how important it is to do the cranial nerve exam when someone presents with ear pain, just to make sure it's not affecting the nerves of their brain. So I just have to make a note now that if I ever see someone with ear pain, then the cranial nerve exam is an important one to do. A tracheostomy is when someone has a hole made in their trachea so they can breathe through that, either permanently or temporarily. And in our tracheostomy management class, we learnt what to do if we come across a patient whose tracheostomy tube is blocked and they're having trouble breathing. You can replace the internal tube of the tracheostomy device so that you can clear up any blockages. You can bag ventilate a tracheostomy just the same way you can put a bag valve mask on someone's face during CPR. And you can also use suction, like in the dentist, to clear out any mucus or debris from the airway. Get your mind out of the gutter. This is not something that we got from a Club X. This is a very serious medical device called a laryngeal mask airway. This device sits just above the larynx, so above the trachea and the esophagus, and it is used to ventilate unconscious patients. Here we are using a laryngoscope so we can open the mouth and have a good look at the larynx so we can see where we're inserting the next airway. This is to ensure that we don't accidentally insert the airway into the esophagus by mistake. Here Alex is using the laryngoscope to guide the endotracheal tube down into the lungs. The moment of truth where we find out whether or not Alex got the airway into the right spot, which he certainly did. Just heading into the hospital now because I have an appointment with my patient partner. If you guys remember me telling you about the patient partner program, it's where we buddy up with a patient and accompany them to their different appointments so we can see what it's like to be a patient through the hospital system. At the end of the year, we have to give a presentation to our class about what we learnt by going to the different appointments with our patient partners. My patient partner, they have cancer, and I've never known anyone close to me to have cancer. So I'm also intrigued to see what it's like going through the process of being a cancer patient. I also had ED last night, which was really good. Kit and I, we took a few histories. Kit and I were trying to focus on things that we were weakest on. So we decided to take a history of someone who had a transient loss of consciousness, or TLOC. We essentially just learnt the steps of how to take the history and what questions to ask, but without any lectures really on the background knowledge. I should probably start by explaining what TLOC is. Transient loss of consciousness is when someone passes out, and there's three major categories of why that would be. First one is vasovagal. So for example, if you're scared of needles and you see someone about to give you a needle and you pass out as a response to that, that is a vasovagal syncope. The second type is orthostatic. So if you faint when you go from sitting to standing, that's most likely an orthostatic syncope. And the third cause is cardiogenic. So something to do with the heart, there's something going on there and it's causing you to faint because you don't have enough oxygen perfusing your brain. We also managed to get a quick little tutorial from one of the registrars about facial droop as a feature of someone coming in. We watched the doctor admit a patient who had facial droop so badly that they couldn't really speak, and we were going through all the differentials of what could cause that. And he said that it can either be from a stroke. The next likely cause is varicella zoster, so chickenpox rash coming back in your face. That can cause facial droop. Then you can get a non-specific infection that causes facial droop, and then we categorize that as Bell's palsy. And also migraines can cause facial droop. So we're just going through the steps of firstly trying to make sure it wasn't a stroke, doing the exams to try to figure that out, and then going through the steps to see which one we thought it was most likely to be. It was a really good systematic approach, and it tied in nicely to our ear, nose and throat lectures as well, because one of the other causes of facial droop can be otitis media or infection in the ear, and we had just learnt about that, so it was good to reinforce that knowledge. So I just had my patient partner appointment, and it was really good to see my patient partner. They were doing okay. They seemed well, better than the last time I saw them, which was in a hospital bed. And it was a really good experience to get to see what it's like to wait around at the hospital for your appointment, the different obstacles that you can run into as a patient. I just think it's a very wholesome and sweet assignment, and I'm really glad we're doing it because it's really nice to get that patient perspective so we can be more considerate doctors in the future. Melbourne might go into another lockdown soon because there's been a spike in case numbers. Everything feels a bit touch and go at the moment, and it's just one of those periods where you need to check your emails like every 20 minutes to see that you're not missing something. A few of our tutorials for next week have been cancelled, which I'm not sad about because our OSCEs are coming up too, so they're cancelled and we're going to have to catch up on them later, but then at least I can use that time to study instead. It's now 9:30 and I have a class at 11 o'clock for my clinical skills. I'm going to go over Tally and O'Connor, which is basically like the Bible for medical student clinical exams. So everything we need to know for our OSCEs is in this book over the next 4 years. So I'm going to try to read a few chapters, make a few notes. I think I want to go over the respiratory exam because that's the one that I know all the steps, but if someone asks me questions about my findings, I kind of freeze up and I don't know it very fluently. So I want to revise it one more time. So hopefully if I get asked questions about the respiratory exam, then I know how to answer them. Today is a fucking long day because I've been here since 8:50 and I don't finish until 10 tonight. I have ear, nose and throat outpatients clinics from 1 to 5. I have my ED shift later today at 6 to 10. So it's gonna be a long ass day. I forgot to introduce to you guys that I'm now on my ear, nose and throat outpatient appointments. That's for this week and next week. I haven't been to any of the appointments yet. This is my first one that I'm going to. I'm pretty excited. I've heard a lot of people say a lot of nice things about the people working in that department. And I've also heard that the procedures and the surgeries are very interesting to see. It's all happening. All of my assessments are coming up very quickly. So I think it's time that I got stuck into my books. As we are currently on our ear, nose and throat rotation, one of my classmates brought in this model of a cochlea, which is the inside of your ear, and that part is responsible for how you have balance. In clinical skills class, we learned how to use the opthalmascope to have a look inside someone's eye for their blood vessels. I didn't quite master this one. It's a real knack to be able to focus on the right part of their eye.
Yeah, I think I get some glimpses of it.
I'm feeling really salty at the end of today. So firstly, we left the hospital to go to our outpatients clinic at a different hospital, which was a bit of a trek. And then when we got there, turns out our timetable was wrong and there was no ear, nose and throat clinic on there. Fine, okay, very annoying. Wasted some time, but we move on. I had a long case class from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. and then we had ED from 6 to 10. And we had made plans to go to dinner after long case, but when it got to 6, I thought to myself, I should just go straight to the ED because I'm feeling pretty tired and I'd rather just do a long case now or take a history now so I can leave a little bit earlier instead of having dinner and then going back and then staying till 10. It'll be quite late. And then against my better judgment, I went to dinner and then I didn't end up going to ED. Now I'm just salty at myself for wasting time. And even though I know that I should be looking on the bright side, like Kit said, because I got to spend time with my friends, I'm annoyed at myself for wasting time and making a mistake that I could have anticipated. In the other great news of today, Melbourne is in a snap lockdown. So all of the fun activities for this weekend have been cancelled, which is okay for me, honestly, because I have exams coming up and it would be nice to have that time to study as well. I know it's stupid of me to be annoyed about going to dinner and that I should be positive about it instead, but I'm just having a hard time being positive about it today. I don't know why, maybe it's stress, but I just don't feel like looking on the bright side tonight. I now need to do this piece of assessment called the admissions record, where we do a fake admissions record for a patient that we've seen so we can get feedback about it, so we can see how we're going, so that when we're interns and we finally have to do that, we've had some practice writing up someone's admissions form. And it's due at 5 p.m. tomorrow. I haven't started it yet, but hopefully it won't take me longer than half an hour. I'm just excited for it to be the weekend already. So we just got an email saying that our mini CXs for today have been cancelled because our doctor who is assessing us works at multiple sites. So therefore, because it's a lockdown right now, he can't go between hospitals. He can only be at one. I'm sort of relieved, but then again, I know that I'm going to have to do it later on in the next couple of weeks anyway. So it's just delaying the inevitable. I'm heading into the hospital now so I can go over some OSCE stuff. I want to go over my how to take a headache history because I think that is the weakest one for me at the moment. I haven't revised that in a long time, and might go over again transient loss of consciousness because I find that one quite tricky. And then I have placement from 1 to 6. Just finished a pretty balanced ED shift. I took a couple of histories. One was from a patient who had shingles and some abdominal pain, and we were trying to work out whether it was to do with her shingles or whether it was a pain deeper from her pancreas. Then I practiced my clinical exams. I did a full neurological exam, like cranial nerve, upper limb, lower limb, which takes about 20 minutes. Did a full one of those and didn't forget anything, which is a good feeling. Then I took a headache history, which I thought was quite good. I hadn't practiced headaches in a while. And now I'm just going to study for another hour if I can, and then call it a night and then get stuck into the weekend. I had an awesome realization today as I was talking to my friend Darcy, but there are only 3 exams between myself and becoming a doctor. There is no 4th year exams, so we just have the end of year exam this year, and I don't know where the other 2 exams are, but Darcy said that there was only 3 exams, and I am so here for that. That is crazy. From the looks of it, MD4 is pretty chill, and so far, I don't think this year has been crazy difficult. It's been a lot of work, but it's definitely felt manageable. And I know that MD2 and MD3 are supposed to be kind of similar like that in terms of workload. Only a couple of jam-packed years ahead, and then we're gonna be working, woo! Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, it would be awesome if you can like, comment, and subscribe, as it really helps me with the YouTube algorithm, and that really motivates me to continue making more videos like this one. As always, if you have any questions about the med school experience, the application process, any old question, you can DM me on my Instagram. I always reply to my DMs. And if I haven't replied to your DM, I'm so genuinely sorry. It must have just slipped through the cracks. So please just message me again and I definitely will reply. But thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I know everyone's really busy, so any time that you take out of your day to watch these means a lot to me. Hope you have a good weekend and stay safe through the lockdown.